Most people believe that growing food means waiting months for crops to mature. Long seasons, endless patience in a harvest that only comes once or twice a year. But what they don't realize is that some foods grow so fast they can outpace traditional crops and give you fresh harvests in days or weeks. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why ignoring these fast-growing foods could cost you more than just time. It could mean losing control of your food security when grocery shelves run empty. We're living in a time where the systems we grew up trusting, grocery stores, supply chains, even the idea of endless abundance, are showing cracks. Think about it. For decades, food felt automatic. You walk into a store, shelves are full, prices are predictable, and you don't even question whether the basics will be there. But now, inflation has turned a simple grocery run into a budgeting nightmare. Eggs, flour, vegetables, things that used to be cheap and reliable, suddenly feel like luxuries. Systems that once worked are now fragile. A single shipping delay, a drought in one region, or a fuel price spike ripples across the entire chain, and you and I feel it directly in our wallets and in our kitchens. Here's the hidden truth. Food insecurity isn't just something that happens in far-off places. It's creeping into everyday life, even in developed countries. Families are cutting back, skipping meals, or relying on processed foods because fresh produce is either too expensive or simply unavailable. And if you're not prepared, you'll be forced to accept whatever the system gives you. Higher prices, lower quality, and less choice. That's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. Because when you lose control of your food, you lose control of your health, your finances, and your independence.
I'll be honest with you, I felt this personally. Last year, I walked into my local store and saw empty shelves where fresh greens should have been. It wasn't a disaster, it wasn't a war zone, it was just a supply hiccup. But standing there, staring at that gap, I realized how fragile the system really is. That moment lit a fire under me, because preparedness isn't about panic, it's about reclaiming control. It's about saying, I don't have to wait for the system to fix itself. I can grow food that beats traditional crops in speed and resilience. And here's the logic. Traditional crops take months. Corn, wheat, potatoes, they're slow. They tie you to long seasons, heavy inputs, and uncertainty. But fast-growing foods, they give you harvests in days or weeks. They bridge the gap between scarcity and abundance. They're the difference between waiting helplessly and eating confidently. The stakes couldn't be higher. If inflation keeps climbing, if supply chains keep breaking, if climate shocks keep hitting, and let's be real, all of those are happening right now, then the people who know how to grow fast food crops will be the ones who thrive. This isn't just about gardening, it's about survival with dignity. It's about feeding your family without fear. It's about looking at a tray of microgreens or a row of radishes and knowing, I did this. I'm not at the mercy of broken systems. So as we dive into these 9 fast-growing foods, remember, this isn't a hobby list, this is a lifeline. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how these foods can give you back control in a world that feels increasingly out of control.
Number 1. Microgreens. At first glance, this seems like garnish food, but what makes it powerful is speed. Harvest in under a week, with nutrient density up to 40x higher than mature plants. In a real-world scenario, this allows you to bridge gaps when shelves are empty and still get fresh vitamins. Practical example, a tray of radish microgreens on your kitchen counter can be ready before your next grocery trip. Tip, start with broccoli or radish seeds. They sprout fast and taste bold. Number 2, radishes. Most people ignore them because they're just salad crunch, but they're powerful because they mature in 25 days, faster than most root crops. In collapse scenarios, that's a month to food security. Practical example, plant a row every week and you'll have rolling harvests all season. Tip, choose fast varieties like Cherry Bell for maximum speed. Number 3, leaf lettuce. It seems ordinary, but cut-and-come-again lettuce keeps giving. Powerful because you harvest leaves in 30 days and keep cutting for weeks. In a reset, this means steady greens without waiting for heads. Practical example, a shallow container indoors can keep your family in salads year-round. Tip, rotate trays every 2 weeks for continuous supply. Number 4, green onions. Ignored because they're just garnish, but they regrow from kitchen scraps and water, no soil, no garden. In collapse, that's free flavor and nutrients without inputs. Practical example, save root ends, place in a jar, and watch them regrow in days. Tip, keep multiple jars going so you always have fresh onion tops. Number 5, spinach. Seems slow compared to lettuce, but it thrives in cool weather and gives harvest in 35 days. In a reset, it's iron-rich resilience food that boosts energy. Practical example, plant in partial shade to extend the season and avoid bolting. Tip, harvest outer leaves first to keep plants producing longer. Number 6, zucchini. At first glance, it's just another summer squash, but what makes it powerful is sheer yield. One plant can produce dozens of fruits in weeks. In collapse scenarios, that's calorie-dense food fast. Practical example, zucchini bread, stir-fries, and even dehydrated chips from a single plant. Tip, plant 2 or 3 for continuous supply, but be ready to preserve extras. Number 7, bush beans. Most people think beans are slow, but bush beans give harvest in 50 days, much faster than pole beans. In a reset, they provide protein and fiber when meat is scarce. Practical example, a small raised bed can yield pounds of beans in under 2 months. Tip, succession plant every 3 weeks for steady harvests. Number 8, cucumbers. At first glance, cucumbers seem fragile, but what makes them powerful is speed. Harvest in 50 to 60 days with prolific yields. In collapse scenarios, they hydrate, refresh, and can be pickled for storage. Practical example, trellis them vertically to save space and increase yield. Tip, choose fast varieties like bush pickle for container growing. Number 9, kale. Most people ignore it because it's too bitter, but it's powerful because it's cut and come again, frost-tolerant, and harvestable in 30 to 40 days. In a reset, kale keeps producing when other crops fail, giving you vitamins deep into winter. Practical example, one patch can feed a family with greens for months. Tip, massage leaves with olive oil to soften flavor and make them kid-friendly.
Now here's where most people get it wrong. They think fast-growing foods are just snacks, garnish, side dishes, little extras that can't possibly replace the big staples like wheat, rice, or corn. They imagine these quick crops as cute kitchen projects, not serious food security. But the truth is, in a collapse or reset scenario, speed is survival. When shelves go bare, you don't have 3 months to wait for corn. You need calories, vitamins, and confidence now. And that's exactly what these fast-growing foods deliver. Microgreens aren't garnish, they're concentrated nutrition. Radishes aren't just crunch, they're a 25-day lifeline. Lettuce isn't a side salad, it's a renewable source of greens that keeps producing when other crops stall. Here's the hidden advantage. These foods don't just fill gaps, they buy you time. They bridge the weeks between planting and harvesting larger staples. They give you immediate wins, psychological relief, and proof that you can feed yourself outside the system. So don't dismiss them as small. In reality, they're the foundation of resilience. And once you see how quickly they grow, you'll never look at traditional crops the same way again. This isn't about panic, it's about positioning. The people who prepare quietly today will have leverage tomorrow. When shelves thin out, when prices spike, when neighbors scramble, you'll already have food growing, harvests coming in, and confidence that doesn't depend on broken systems. That's not fear, that's foresight. And it's the difference between being reactive and being resilient. Preparedness isn't loud, it isn't flashy, it's steady, it's strategic, and it gives you options when others have none.
When the system struggles, prepared people don't panic. They adapt, they protect, they preserve. And that's what this channel is about. Building a mindset where food security isn't a distant dream. It's something you can touch, taste, and harvest right now. I want you to picture yourself weeks from now. Grocery shelves are thin, prices are climbing, but you're in your kitchen clipping microgreens, pulling radishes, harvesting lettuce. You're feeding your family not with fear, but with confidence. That's identity. That's ownership. That's resilience. Preparedness isn't just about storing cans or waiting for collapse. It's about creating a living system that keeps you nourished no matter what happens outside. And every tray, every seed, every harvest reinforces who you are. Someone who adapts, someone who protects, someone who thrives. So, if you've been waiting for a sign to start, this is it. Pick one of these 9 foods, plant it today, and watch how quickly it grows. Because the future belongs to those who prepare, and you're now part of that future. Stay resilient, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.